Hello everyone, this is Ambali Bhattacharya from Ambali Art Cafe, and as promised I am here today with the tutorial for the group competition to celebrate Watercolor Month. I hope you will enjoy recreating this with me, and I am looking forward to see your work in the submission. So let's start. I would like to inform you that all the competition related informations are mentioned in the caption on the group feed. In this video, I am going to talk to you about the process of this painting. To begin with, let me show you the brushes I am going to use here majorly. So these are silver velvet brushes number 8 and number 4. Number 4 is the rigger brush, and the paper I am using here is of Bao Hong Canada professional grade paper. Here I have used masking tape to fix my paper to have a nice defined frame at the end. I personally love it, and it also helped to stay the paper at its place. I am starting by adding clear water at the sky area. I am generously adding water, but at the same time I am careful not to create flood on the paper. Very carefully I am leaving the white roof areas of the house, but adding water on the mountain and the bush areas, making sure all the areas of the sky and the mountains are evenly covered by the water. Now for the sky, I am going to use yellow ochre and fire orange from Rockwell, Canada. It is an evening time just after the sun has slept, and we still see the gold patch on the sky. The sky is going to be a combination work of warm and cool colors. Tricky but fun, since it is kind of late evening and the sunbeams are really soft. It's not reaching to the faraway clouds, and the upper part of the sky looks beautiful with blue cotton candy clouds. I'm using pure weight on weight technique here, and to have like a kind of soft effect, and I'm deliberately avoiding any hard lines. I need to work really fast here, as it is summer here in India and the paper is going to dry up very quickly. I'm extending the color upwards a little bit, and adding little bit of warm color, yellow ochre with tint of cadmium yellow, to set the base tone of the sky. We all know watercolor looks few shades lighter once it is dried. While adding pigments and water, we must keep this in mind. Though the pigments I am using here are very saturated, and that's why I love them, still too much water can make the painting look faded once it is dried. So carefully I am reapplying another coat and adding some horizontal vibrant clouds near the mountains. Before the paper dries, I am adding the blue pigment on the upper side of the sky. I have mixed Rockwell ultramarine blue with cerulean blue and adding some patterns for the clouds. Since the paper is wet, I know the colors are going to spread a little, so I'm intentionally leaving gaps between the strokes, so the pattern of the clouds remain visible and do not collide or merge with each other. I have mixed the rose red and ultramarine blue and created soft purple, and adding some clouds here and there all over the sky. And the first layer of the blue is already few seconds dry, so I am reapplying another coat following the same techniques to create medium and big fluffy clouds. I will definitely not overdo the sky and will leave it here to dry. We will now come to the other half of the painting. I'm going to use cadmium yellow with little bit of lemon yellow for the faraway grass area and the nearby grass area. for a nice vibrant look. It will enhance the sense of distance when I'm adding the yellow at the faraway grass area, and also it will add interest to the painting. This looks so vibrant and so beautiful. Here I am using sap green mixed with cadmium yellow, and my brush is not fully wet. You can see a little bit of texture on my paper, and intentionally I am doing that. I love this kind of effect on my paper. And here I am using the body of the brush instead of the tip of the brush for the green patch in the middle. And for the farther area, I am using the tip of the brush with a dark green pigment, that is the sap green and ultramarine blue mixed, and just adding fine lines on the faraway green area. For the mountain, I'm using pure ultramarine blue, and I'm covering the entire area with plain flat wash. I'm gonna add another layer, the second layer of the same pigment, to achieve the desired effect on the mountain. Before the paper dries, quickly I am adding dash of green on the edges, and can see how beautifully it spreads on the area. That's the beauty of wet on wet. Unpredictable but irresistibly beautiful. That's when we all fall in love with the spontaneity of watercolor medium. I'm adding few burnt sienna patches and few darker green to create a depth and to have a three-dimensional effect on that area. Also, the darker green against the lighter one will help to set the perspective right. I have mixed Payne's grey and ultramarine blue with sap green to create this darker green. I love this mixture. It is intense, it has depth, and because of ultramarine, it adds a little bit of texture as well. I'm sure you must be knowing that ultramarine as a pigment has more granular effects. If I have mixed this sap green simply with black, I might get the same darker value, but definitely not the depth and the texture that I was looking for. That's why I don't prefer using direct black directly from the palette. And you will see the texture once the color spreads in water on wet technique. If you use black, it will look very dull, and definitely it will not have that kind of texture or granular effect. So that's why I create my black, or you can say I can create the darker values with ultramarine blue, or here I have used ultramarine blue and Payne's grey. Payne's grey also has a lot of textures and depth. So that's why I don't use black, and try to use other alternatives to create a darker value as similar as black. But here this is not very black, this is very, very dark green, looking like black, but it's very dark green. Now I am using number 4 rigger brush for the fine darker lines just on the edges of the cottages. My brush is not very wet, and the pigment I have taken is a little thicker. To create texture, I am using dry brush techniques here. I'll share a secret tip here. To get the best result of dry brush technique, always use the body of the brush rather than the tip of the brush. Try this next time and you will thank me later. This really works like wonder. Then of course the more grainier paper is, the more texture you will get. So also the paper definitely plays a very very important role in this kind of technique. Now I will do the house, the main element of the landscape. I'm using burnt sienna from Rockwell, um, very well diluted in water for a nice transparent outcome. I'm doing plain flat wash with burnt sienna here, and before it dries I add a tinge of ultramarine blue on the right wall. The light here is not reaching to this wall and creating some nice dreamy effect. The color of the shadow, the wall, later we'll add a tree there, so everything will get like it's getting merged there and creating a nice darker mood, adding more interest to that side of the home. As I have done the base of the house, I'll leave it here to dry. With the back of my finger, I'm checking if the sky has dried well. If it feels slight cold, you must wait for a few minutes more. Mine one has dried and I am ready for the tree now. This part can look a little scary, a little difficult, and sometimes boring if you don't like to do the trees. But as I always say that this is just a piece of paper and you are learning, so never be fearful. It does show on your strokes. Focus more on the process than the outcome, and if you follow the right technique, the difficult becomes easiest. So let's take a deep breath and let's start doing the trees. So here I have draw a fine straight line with my brush, and I'm just very carefully adding branches first, and then I'm adding little bit of leaves, coming out from the branches. You need to remember one thing when adding the branches to the trees, that it shouldn't be very straight, as if like it is coming out straight from the from that line, and just very straight both the side. Don't do that. Make the branches little curvy, follow the pattern. So you can zoom it, you can zoom the main picture that has been shared, so you can zoom that and can just see the patterns and just follow the patterns. There are curvy lines, there are some specific patterns I have followed. Just follow that pattern and just avoid making straight flat lines on both the side. Then it will be more easier for you. And don't overdo it. You can see that there are gaps between the branches. Maintain those gaps between the branches, so it will make the tree look more realistic. And if you overdo it, then it will end up looking like a block sometime. So be a little careful, and I'm sure you can do it. What you can do, that you can just do a little bit of practice on the side with 2 or 3 trees, and then you can do it. Once you gain the confidence, then you can do it here on the main painting. That will be more, I think, more easier for you. Now coming back to the middle green patch, and I'm adding some texture here with little bit of sap green and number 4 rigger brush. I'm using the body of the brush for the dry effect. And again, coming back to the house on the darker side of the wall, with the same brush I'm adding burnt sienna mixed with very little Payne's grey, and have added shadows to the main house and the faraway house, and just under the roof of the house, just adding the darker values and merging it well with the darker shadows on the right side. merging with the trees and the background. Everything is having like creating kind of a harmony, I'm done with the houses here. Again, I don't want to overdo it. Let it dry and I'll see if I want to come back to it or not. As the sky has dried completely, now I'll do the electric poles. I'm just using plain Payne's grey, dark Payne's grey, and using the rigger brush. Here I am using the tip of the brush for a fine line, and making sure that the lines are even and nicely drawn. There shouldn't be crooked lines. Your hand shouldn't be trembling while doing the lines. You can keep a base on the paper with your little finger and then draw the line. It will be easier for you to make a straight line. Now adding a little bit of bushes, far away bushes with a little bit of sap green mixed with ultramarine blue, and before they dry I'm adding a little bit of darker values near the houses to define the white roof of the houses. The more darker value I will add at the surrounding area of the white roofs, the more prominent it will look. And that's the idea. That's what I want. So I'm just adding a little bit of darker values around the white roofs of the houses, and just touching a little bit of add-ups here and there. With the same brush, I'm adding a little bit of more texture to the green area, and on the bright yellow area I have used a little bit of burnt sienna, very dry, I mean very less water and thick pigment, and added a little bit of brown on the yellow part of the ground. Now I'm doing the most nearest pole, the electric pole, with the Payne's grey, and making sure that the line is straight and nice, but at the same time it looks like a real one, so you can say it is a combination of little bit of dry brush, but not too much. You can see there are a little bit of textures just on the edges of the pole, and accidentally some color got left up, so I just need to fix it a little bit. Now with a very fine brush, this is a local brush. I got it from my local market, from a nearest stationery shop. This is not a branded brush, but I really love the brush, the way it works, the way it creates nice fine lines. So I'm using this brush. You can use any zero size rigger brush to create this fine line, and I'm just creating those wires that is connecting the poles with each other, and it looks very beautiful. It creates a kind of a sense of harmony for me in the painting, and it adds a lot of interest and story, makes the painting look I don't know, I mean, it looks more realistic, more aesthetic. Doing a little touch up here and there with the same brush and very light Payne's grey. I'm using the tip of the brush for the finest effect. If here I use the body of the brush, the line will be thicker. I'll not get the fine line with the same brush. Just making the lines more prominent. You have to be really, really very careful while doing this, because If you mess up here, then the entire beauty will go away, so make sure your lines are really really fine and you don't overdo them. It shouldn't be very thick. Maintain the thinness of the line. That's the beauty here. Here I'm taking the help of my ruler and just painting the most straight lines. There are two straight lines, two straight wires horizontally going from left to right. So very carefully I'm painting them. So while doing the second one, when you are putting this scale on it, make sure that your previous one has dried, otherwise it can get spoiled. And again doing some touch-ups with the paint spray, making the wires more visible, more prominent. If your hands tremble, I told you that please keep a base on your paper with the little finger and then do it. It will help you to make more straight line. Now again I'll come back to the house and we'll add a little bit of color on the roof of the house. I'm gonna use a little bit of burnt sienna, like kind of a washed off look. A little bit of burnt sienna, tinge of very diluted ultramarine blue, and we'll add them here on the roof and then wash it off, so it will have a washed off look. So it will not look just flat white, it will have some kind of depth. It will look lighter, but at the same time it will look more real. And with dark Payne's grey, I'm gonna add some windows on the darker side of the wall and some touch-ups here and there with the Payne's grey and the green mixed, just to add some final touch. We're almost at the finishing point of the painting, so this is the most crucial point. You must know where you should stop. We have a general tendency of overdoing things and keep on doing it, and literally very confused at how much we should do and where we should stop. Here I think we can add a little bit of touch-ups here and there, can define the faraway house a little bit more, can add a little more texture to the ground, and I'm just lifting some color from the middle area because I thought it's looking a little too much, and I was not liking the texture there, so I have lifted up a little bit of color from there with a clean brush, and then just added plain sap green mixed with lemon yellow, and just did a kind of little bit of flat wash to add some depth on the green area. Initially I think it was lacking a little bit of depth. Now I think it looks better. So I think we are done here. That's the final look. In the main here I have added all the colors, all the patches. You can see all the patches in the main picture. It will help you to understand the colors that I have used, all the pigments I have used in the painting. So I hope you will enjoy the process while doing it. I'll suggest that you make one or two practice work and then try the main one for submission. I'm really, really looking forward to have you in the watercolor marathon and so excited to see your work. You have a great day and have a creative day. Thank you so much for watching.